Well, good afternoon and welcome back to the shop for part two. Remember last time I put a video out, I described what I did here is I picked up a 1995 SVT Cobra. So this is the 5-liter that comes in that. It's a fully rollerized engine. So this is a beautiful engine that I want to use. And of course the question is what am I going to use it on? Now, to give you a hint, I don't only have the motor. I actually bought a 1995 Mustang and I tore everything off of it. You might call it a donor. So now I have all of the parts off of a 1995 Mustang. What am I going to do with it? Well, let me show you. Well, as soon as I said donor, you all probably realized what we were doing. And this is a Factory 5 Type 65 Coupe. Now, Factory 5 obviously is not legally licensed to call it anything else, but for you and me, also known as a Daytona, a Shelby Daytona. So what we've got are the two main body parts. One piece of glass runs all the way from the front to the back, fiberglass. And then of course, part number two is the nose clip. And what I love about these cars is the nose clip flips forward just like a Jag. You know, remember those old Jags? This flips forward and opens up the entire bay. Now, speaking of engine bay, I'm putting in a 5-liter, well, 302, let's say. But these have been engineered to handle pretty well anything from big Coyotes to 427s. Well, I'm not doing that. I'm putting in the original motors these came with back then, which of course is the 302, 289, 302 block, small block. And the reason I'm doing that is twofold. Number one, I just love small blocks. They're so light and you can squeeze so much power out of them. But the second thing is, I've got this gaping hole here and I'm putting in my little motor. I'm going to change some of the engineering. Now, I hope Factory 5 doesn't get mad at me, but I'm literally going to put the motor in, transmission and rear end, and we're going to collapse the superstructure to fit specifically to my engine, transmission, and rear end. And that will expand the amount of foot room I have and cockpit room, because I don't need this huge chasm, especially when you take a look at this transmission tunnel. I mean, the transmission tunnel is huge, right? So we're way up here, you can see the height difference from the floor up. And then of course, look at the superstructure around here. I don't need that. My transmission is probably going to take up half of this space. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to collapse it, make more room in the cab, make it a little bit nicer to work inside, and give me even more dash, because I can drop this whole structure. This whole structure can come down because my motor is going to be sitting down there. So we bring this down. This gives me more dash, gives me more room to be able to put the air conditioning and heating in this thing, because of course we have to have air conditioning and heating, because this is a sealed hardtop, right? A lot different, but fully engineered roll bar. And again, in the rear end is the same thing. Once I get my rear end inside of this thing, I'm going to be able to adjust and maybe even bring the seats back a little bit further on both sides. And again, depends on what we work out, but that's secondary. I'm not going to want to maybe touch some of that, but that's really the plan. So the next time you see me, these pieces will all be in storage. We'll have this thing up on jack stands, and we're going to be putting in the motor, transmission, and rear end, just to rough it in, right? Not going to bolt it in permanently, just rough it in. And we're going to start making some changes to this body. Now, the next thing, I am up in Canada, which means I received what's referred to as a Canadian kit. And why is it called a Canadian kit? Because basically, I can't bring anything up to Canada out of the US that is referred to as a rolling chassis, which means this car or this kit cannot contain any parts from the fuel system. It cannot contain anything from the braking system, anything from the suspension, or anything from the drivetrain. It cannot, if it doesn't contain all of those, it is legally importable into Canada. Now, of course, you have to get Department of Transport approval, but I'm going to cover all of that in another video. This basically was just to let everybody know what the next project is. And as I said, next time you see this, it'll just be sitting up on jack stands and hopefully putting a motor into it. Well, hopefully that was a surprise to everybody. Like I said, something I'm going to be working on for the next year or so. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.